indications to do a bone grafting is to fill cavities or defects. These cavities or defects are usually secondary to cysts or when the tumors are excised. The second indication is to bridge joints and provide arthrodesis. For example, if we need to do an arthrodesis of, say, tibiotalar joint, then the cartilage is shaved off and bone graft is packed between the space to create arthrodesis. The third indication is to bridge major defects and establish continuity of a long bone. This is, say, for example, in non-unions where there is a gap, bone graft is harvested and filled in the cavity to establish union as well as to continue the integrity of the long bone. Fourth indication, rarely done, is for arthroeresis, means to limit joint motion by providing a bone block. Fifth indication will be to achieve a union in a pseudoarthrosis. We all know that it is extremely difficult to achieve union in pseudoarthrosis as the rate of failure is very high. And the last indication will be to promote union in delayed union or malunion, even fresh fracture sometimes, especially if there is a bone loss or if an osteotomy is done when there will be a gap. So these are the indications for bone grafting in orthopedic surgery. What is this definition? Please note multiple literatures interchange the two terms, the bone graft and the bone substitute. That is because as per the definition, the bone substitute is any synthetic or organic or biologically organic combination which can be inserted for the treatment of a bone defect instead of autogenous or allogenous bone. So technically, bone grafts are different from bone substitutes, but in some books and articles, these are taken under the same common heading. So if we consider them under a common heading, the classification would then be bone grafts, ceramics, polymer based, growth factors, and cell based. A bone graft could either be autograft, that is from the same person, or it could be an allograft, that is from the same species, or xenograft, that is from some other species. These are three types of bone graft. The others are bone substitutes, which could be ceramic based, polymer based, growth factors based, or cell based. There are some characteristics which are considered ideal for any bone substitute. They are, it needs to be biocompatible. This means when the substitute is put into the patient, it should not cause any adverse inflammatory response in the patient. That is biocompatible. It needs to be easily moldable and should have a short setting time. This is because if there is a longer setting time, it increases the duration of surgery and can cause infection and other morbidities. Plus, easily moldable into any shape and size since the defect in a cavity due to a cyst or tumor can vary. They need to be osteoconductive, osteoinductive, and resorbable. Resorbable because if it stays in the body for a long time, then it can lead to foreign body reactions. We will talk about osteoconductive, osteoinductive properties in some time. It should be easily possible to trace this in vivo. Plus, the next ideal point, it should be have a radiolucency to allow optimal radiographic assessment. Both these points combined means that it should be radiolucent. Also, we need to be able to trace them once they are implanted inside the body. This is because we need to know what is happening to it. Plus, being radiolucent helps us to understand what is happening to the non-union fracture ends without the grafted material making its way into the vision. It should ideally be non-conductive thermally, should be sterilizable and readily available at a reasonable cost. It is obvious that none of the bone substitutes, at least at present day, will fulfill all these criteria.